Ahoy hoy, this is Druss here, and welcome back to the Darwin Reforged server. Today I'm going to be reviewing a smaller plot, one of our member level plots, that's plots 1, and this plot is by Xtiaan, XT as we call him, and it's King's Cross Inn. Now, when XT did this plot, he took a tremendous amount of time given the plot size, and he really put a huge amount of effort into getting everything absolutely perfect. He really did agonize over it, and to be fair, it really turned out magnificent. And to my mind, this plots 1 really sets the bar for other plots 1s to follow. He obviously passed and was promoted for it, and very well deserved so. It can be accessed certainly on one of the warps, and I'll leave that in the description, but for now let's just jump straight in. So as I said, this is one of our smaller plots, plots 1, and we can start out in the corner here and go over a little bridge. Now immediately you're struck by the inn itself towering over you, and some lovely landscaping and some lovely layering over a little stream that looks really, really well with some of the mossy gravel stones, that sort of thing. And you follow a road, and the first creature you come across is a horse bolting because of a squirrel, that grey squirrel that got in his way, which is a little bit of fun, and certainly brings a bit of life to the plot. As we go over here to the side of the inn, there's a workshop with a wagon that is clearly being worked on as the wheel is off and on the ground. And as I said, a nice little workshop, a couple of wheels, all the tools of the trade really, and he's done a wonderful job just decorating in here just to show exactly what it is, and it really is transparently obvious. The wagon itself, again, is a lovely job on that, and quite original in its own way. A lot of people would have used arch blocks to do this. He opted against it. Outside the inn we have some nice little stables with horse manure and just general muckiness inside. Now he did opt to leave the commentary from the reviewers here, so let's just ignore that, and any further green screen blocks we come across. Again, a nice little pulley to hoist hay up into the barn, and outside here, if I can get through the foliage, we have some hot springs, which is why the inn was presumably built here, to capitalize on the natural hot springs for customers to use. Again, his organics and his custom trees are beautifully done, and just the addition of small little bits of nature like the butterflies and that sort of thing that again bring some life to the plot. Over the rather precarious bridges, he used cloud blocks to indicate the steam and mist arising from the hot springs. Again, very, very nicely done, and a rocky outcrop with just some trees clinging on to life. The outside of the inn has a nice transitioning of blocks and block palette, and again just nicely done, well weathered roof, some nice little dormer windows in there, and the use of the portcullis balustrade blocks as a chimney and some smoke. Again, just all very, very nicely done. And as I said, this does really set the bar for, well, to my mind, for the member plot promotion. You know, I don't foresee that every plot for member level will be this detailed. XC just chose that. This, obviously, the little ramp to get beer barrels into the cellar of the inn, and a little compost heap over where people would have dumped their waste. So again, he has used every single square inch of the plot really is full of detail, and that's exactly what I like to see. So it is. This is how a plot really ought to be utilised, particularly when you have a small space. The architecture of the inn is lovely. He's complemented the Tudor blocks with additional rail blocks, and some gate blocks, some rustic gate blocks, which look magnificent. Again, surrounding the windows, he uses some oak rail blocks, and then as an inn sign, he's used a barrel with an item frame and a little crown inside it. Again, all just looking very, very well. A little wood pile outside, very, very nice. Nice little touch. So inside the inn, again, as you'd expect, given the level of detail on the outside, the level on the inside is really, really spectacular. He's slightly custom made the chandeliers to include lamps, just to give a little bit of individuality. Again, just some nice use of player heads and just the usual jam jars, that sort of thing, to indicate that this is where the meal is. The kitchen itself is lovely. He's done a nice little oven with some pies baking inside it. Again, a shovel block just to show that's how they get the food, whatever's baking, in and out of the oven. A little pulley again, presumably going down to the cellar. We can double check that now in a minute. Wash basin, just general stuff that you'd expect to see in a kitchen. Shelving, food, onions, etc. Now this red block here, just ignore that. That's my fault, not his. That's owing to me not having the presumably Artecraft overlay downloaded. I only use the Darwin one myself personally. And a little bar to serve customers. And we can access the cellar from here. And again, the cellar has a little oven with a pig suckling and a suckling pig even roasting in it. Some meat, scales, again, just all lovely little detail. Good use of boards there being suspended by rope blocks as a shelf. That's actually very, very, very intelligent and quite clever. And just a storage area for the wine. So this is essentially the wine cellar and the beer cellar. And the high vaulted ceilings, which are quite nice. Some grain. You'll forgive me if my movements are a little jerky. I risked having shaders on whilst I did this review. I wanted to see if I could, and apparently I can while on Darwin. I don't know what's changed. Prior to this, I used to barely be able to move with shaders on, let alone record, so I'll just take it while I can. Again, some little signs of life, a chessboard for customers to play on, that sort of thing, a nice little warm fire for them to warm their bones, and a notice board with some paintings on it, some custom paintings on it. As we go upstairs to the guest bedrooms, we can see again just some nice little cramped but homely detail, again using every single last inch of space. And here we have the toilets, which is outside of which is where we saw the waste being left or dropped. Again, a nice painting. And again, a small little dining room or dining area with a little seating area outside, a little balcony overlooking the springs, which is a lovely little touch. And behind here we have again just another little bedroom, which is exactly what you'd expect. I wouldn't have expected anything less or anything more, really. It is what it is. This is an inn after all. So what else would you have as you move on up to the attic? And again, just some nice little storage room, or bed even, apologies. Some nice, and there's another floor. I wasn't aware of that before. Again, this is a rather larger living area with a bed, so this will presumably be for a richer resident. or perhaps not, given that there are multiple bunks. It's not an individual room, it's actually for several people to stay in at once. And finally on top we have again a little storage area, a little living space with a lovely little window looking out onto further plots of a different nature, but you can't really help that. But again, a lovely little feature. And what looks like the master bedroom with a gorgeously done bed, a 4-post bed, and some memoirs. Even small little details like the arch over the fire here, using a mosaic block, really is a nice little detail. Or the fact that he spent a little time doing a deer head as a decoration. All this just speaks to the effort that XT put into the plot, and again, very well deserved promotion to member on this plot. It really does showcase exactly what you can do with effort on a small space, because you don't need a massive amount of space to fill details in. A small space will do it. You just have to put the effort in and really have an eye for it. And these things of course can be learned. No one comes to Darwin typically from starting from CR. They typically will have come from vanilla, and these things need to be learned. You need to understand that there's a different method for building while using CR, that you can utilize far more advanced blocks and things that aren't available for vanilla, like vertical slabs and sideways stairs, and multiple other blocks like beam blocks and decorative blocks. So yes, this is, as I said, a tribute to XT. And a little back door, an absolute tribute to XT. Every single last block in this place was considered and deliberate, and it really speaks to the expertise of himself. So yes, this plot, as I said, I shall leave the link to a version of it. I don't think it's this particular one that's on plots 1, but he has it transferred over to a private world in which you can view it and explore it. As I said, I'll leave the links in the description. I think it's called Wholesomestates, but I may be wrong. But until the next time, stay frosty and goodbye.